Coming up on today's episode of PSN, the second annual Veteran Wheelchair Football All-Star Game is being played in early February. League Commissioner Karalyn Stott joins the show to share more about this exciting and popular parasport. Let's get started.
Welcome to Parasport Nation with Alex Smyth and Nathan Clement.
Welcome into Parasport Nation. I'm Alex Smyth. As always, I am joined by co-host Nathan Clement. And to add to Nathan's impressive resume from Paralympic medals, World Championship titles, he is also now named one of Canada's Cycling Paracyclists of the Year. Hello, Nathan, and congratulations on the award.
Thank you very much, Alex. It's a special honor, but even to just be up there with my teammate Mel Pemble, and also just the success of the para team that had last year, whether it's Alex Hayward, Dr. Keely Shaw, Kate O'Brien, and Mel Pemble setting that world record in Paris. It's just absolutely phenomenal. Just all the athletes we have with that crew. And even now being in Vancouver, we're under 10 days from the Invictus Games starting, which is a very, very exciting time in the city. You can feel that energy just growing as they've announced the medals, what the medals are going to look like today. And it's really, really exciting.
Well, like a classic humble athlete, Nathan, you are deflecting attention away from yourself, praising your teammates, highlighting upcoming sports. I expect nothing less from you, but congrats again on the major achievement. It's another feather in an impressive cap already. But as you insist, we will move on to other things, including the main conversation on today's episode, which is all about wheelchair football. And the second annual Veteran Wheelchair Football All-Star Game is just days away. It's taking place in early February. And to talk more about this exciting event and the growth around wheelchair football in the U.S. is League Commissioner Karalyn Stott. Here is our conversation with her. Karalyn, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us today.
Happy to be here.
So obviously there is a lot happening in the world of football, especially in the U.S., but in terms of U.S. wheelchair football, for those who may not know, the upcoming All-Star Game is taking place. Can you kind of take us through a bit of what people can expect from this weekend's events and how wheelchair football plays out that's differently than what you would be seeing on NFL Sundays or on college football Sundays or Saturdays?
Yeah, we are really excited to be heading down to New Orleans as part of the NFL's lead up into their Super Bowl activities. For those who have never experienced a Super Bowl city, the NFL does a great job of highlighting a lot of their community partners in the week leading up to the Super Bowl. And so we are really excited to be hosting our Veteran All-Star Game as part of one of those events. So the game is really exciting. If you are a football fan, you are going to recognize the game of wheelchair football. There's passing, there's tackling, there's blocking, there's all of the things that you are going to see from the Chiefs and the Eagles a few days later in the Super Bowl. Our players do it a little bit differently. So we are a 7-on-7 game, and really, it's a very pass-forward game. As you can imagine, our field is a little bit smaller, so it's 60 yards by 22 yards, so that makes passing a little bit more important, as there's a little less field space to maneuver around in terms of, running plays and things like that. But otherwise, quite honestly, the game is so recognizable that we've never really had to explain a rule set to someone who's seen a American football game and then comes to something that we're doing. They get it.
Can you tell us a little bit about the origins of the USA Wheelchair Rugby? Can you tell us a little bit of the origins of the USA Wheelchair Football League and how it kind of started?
Yeah, so in late 2019, the NFL and the Bob Woodruff Foundation, which is an organization that supports veterans here in the United States, they partnered together, and the NFL was interested in learning how that they could support football opportunities for veterans with disabilities. Move United, we are a national nonprofit organization. We're the largest adaptive national nonprofit in the United States that does adaptive sports. We have 200 plus member organizations across the country. And so we kind of came in to help facilitate this idea of providing football to veterans with disabilities. And so thus came the USA Wheelchair Football League. So as I said, that was late 2019. Of course, 2020 put us into a global pandemic. And unfortunately, our first season was delayed a little bit until 2021. But at that point, we had 9 teams across the country, all of them affiliated with their local NFL franchise. And so we have, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We have the Kansas City Chiefs, who just won their second championship for the USA Wheelchair Football League. Not saying that that means that the Chiefs are going to win in a week, but you never know. And we have the LA Rams, the Buffalo Bills, all of those teams. So that was 2021. We had 9 teams, and we continue to grow. We have 14 teams in the league now. So we're really excited to see how many athletes in the United States are excited to play this sport. And how much, excitement there is to grow it. I know particularly here in the U.S., football is just a truly American sport. It's something that so many of us grew up playing, grew up watching. We have our teams that we cheer for on Saturdays and Sundays, takes up all of our weekends in the fall. And so we've seen that excitement with the adaptive version as well.
Something that is like, as you've been laying it out, just the exponential growth from the start to now is so impressive for a fairly young parasport. Is it truly the growth just tied to the fact that football is just so iconic in the U.S.? It's just part of the makeup, the identity of the culture of American sports, or is there something else to it that just kind of has really fed this appetite for the players and participants?
Yeah, I think maybe 80% of it is that, we just here in the U.S., I, as a female, didn't have the opportunity to play growing up, but some of my earliest memories of sport are being at the Iowa Hawkeye football stadium with my grandparents. Football just, is just really ingrained in that culture. But I think some of it's also, as I said, we really worked at Move United to create a rule set that so matched the sport that people were used to playing. And so I think that ease of understanding of the rules and really being able to get into it and being able to run all the same option plays and, all the things that you're kind of used to doing. We have a lot of athletes who, because, you can acquire a disability at any point in life, who played when they were younger, then lost that ability, and then are now able to play. I think the team aspect of it makes it really unique because a lot of people are looking for, a team. I think particularly if you grew up in maybe a small town in the United States where you were the only person with a disability, being able to be surrounded by people who understand you, who understand some of the things you're going through, and get to go out there and hit other people with you, I think is really exciting for everyone. So, I think there's a lot of aspects to it, but I do think some of it is just, as Americans, we love our football.
Even for us as a show, I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan, and just what football can bring, and even on this side of the border as Canadians, it's just amazing, and especially what the NFL's done in Canada with a lot of stuff there, but especially now working with the NFL, how has that partnership been, and what has that meant to the athletes and everyone who gets to take place in this league?
Yeah, it's been a fantastic partnership. As I said, this league really started from this idea that the NFL had of supporting veterans and how they can get involved in sport. And that doesn't mean our league does include civilian athletes as well. But, there's been such a fun partnership. I think the fact that our guys and gals, it is a co-ed league, if anyone is a female out there listening and wants to participate as well. But that they, get to support their hometown team. I think, as I said, so many of us grew up, Nathan, you might wear the blue and green on Sundays, and it'd be really fun to be able to wear that jersey as you're playing as well and kind of represent that team. The franchises have really gotten behind it. So we've had former NFL athletes come out to games and really support the teams. I think some of the more fun aspects for me as the person leading the league is when you see an NFL all-star come to this game and be like, holy, these guys are so competitive. They're so athletic. Like just understanding the respect there that those athletes have. And then, we've really gotten to be a part of some of these special events, obviously, the lead up to the Super Bowl. We got to participate in the NFL draft last year. One of our Dallas Cowboys players got to help make a draft pick at the NFL draft. So it's really been a really fun and exciting partnership, I think, both, in terms of growing the sport and showing it off. The NFL has that reach that we're looking for, but also just, in the fun way that the athletes get to sort of represent their hometown teams, which I think is really exciting.
I'm curious for you as the commissioner, like, how do you see your role in terms of growing the presence and the awareness of the league? And what are some of the kind of like maybe the hurdles or challenges that you've experienced through these like 5-6 years of the sport and the league coming together?
Yeah, I really see my role as providing as many opportunities to play football as possible. So whether that is through our competitive league that we have, I also help to work with officials and create training programs to make sure everyone's safe while they're out on the field and that officials are kind of understanding all the rules and all that stuff, and creating our Learn to Play clinic curriculum. So for those people who maybe don't want to play competitively but just want to get out and throw a football with their friends, we can do some more recreational type stuff. So my role is really just to provide as many opportunities to play football as there possibly can be. And I think, there's always challenges with running anything. I think obviously starting a new sport here in the U.S. Was a challenge just in getting the infrastructure up and running and all of that stuff. But I think we've been pretty successful at that. I think our next challenge is really to kind of see how far we can go with this. So as I said, we're currently in 14 markets. The United States is a very large place, and we want to make sure that even more people have the opportunity to participate. So just figuring out how we can continue to grow this league, grow this sport, grow this awareness that it even exists, right? As a new sport, I think there are still people learning every day, and there are athletes out there who would want to play that don't even know that there's an opportunity. So I think those are kind of our current hurdles, and we're working to overcome them by talking to lovely people like you and getting the word out, and hopefully we'll continue to grow.
As you mentioned, there's 14 teams nationally. Has there been any talks of expanding maybe outside of the U.S. borders too, into Canada or say somewhere else as well?
Move United, the organization that hosts it, we are focused on U.S.-based programming. Now, that being said, there are groups outside of the U.S. that have started wheelchair football programs. So there is a Great Britain wheelchair American football program going on. I believe even Japan has started talking about stuff. So I can't imagine that Canada would be too far behind, given the fact that you guys do have, Canadian Football League and some of those other things. There's already a bit of infrastructure and obviously like interest there in terms of just being so close to America and having some of that football culture as well.
In terms of kind of for the athletes and the players, can you talk a bit about what the response has been from them? What's the reaction that they get to go to, some of these locations? I remember seeing a video, I think it was a last year or the year before, where they were playing a game and it was the Chiefs playing and it was outside of Arrowhead Stadium. Like, as you say, you're in these locations, you have these partnerships, you're putting on the same helmet. Like, what is the reaction from the players when they actually get to play and don those jerseys?
It's been nothing but positive in terms of the reaction. I think so many athletes, as I said, they've wanted this opportunity for so long. We have athletes who have, told me, like, I never thought I'd get a chance to play football, or we have athletes who, as I said, played football in high school and just loved it so much, but then were injured either in combat or, in a car accident or whatever it may be, and just didn't think they'd have that opportunity to play again. So it's been, the reaction has been so positive, and we have so many athletes who are out there just trying to even start up new teams in new locations because they want other people to have that experience as well. So it's really been such a great experience working with these athletes and, making sure that they have such a good experience as well. And I can't say enough positive things about the athletes in our league.
As league commissioner, is there anything you take the most pride in from when you've started this and when you've been working in this till now?
I think I just take pride in the fact that we have, we've grown year over year. We've had about a 30% growth rate every single year in athlete participation, which for something that's brand new is really big. And I take a lot of pride in how excited and our athletes are to participate every year. I think we continuously get athletes that are wanting more opportunities. They just love it so much they want to play more. It's obviously a challenge for me in terms of scheduling and funding and all of that fun stuff, but I think we're doing our job when people are coming back to us and saying, we really want to keep playing this sport. How do we get more involved in it? So that to me, I think is probably the biggest highlight of the last 5 years.
And from a structural standpoint for the league, what does the league calendar schedule look like? How many games are being played? Are they playing? Is it like your standard NFL schedule? You got a home and away, or you're going to the different stadiums? Can you take us through that?
Not quite like that, no. It's still adaptive sports schedule. So our football season runs from August through early November. Our first tournament, so we do tournament style play. It just allows because our athletes often have full-time jobs, they have families. So this is a league for those that are 18 plus. So maybe they're in college, et cetera. So they give up some weekends during the fall to play with us. Right now we're hosting 4 regular season tournaments, basically every 3 weeks after we kick off the season. And then we have our championship in early November. So that's kind of when we crown our season champion. Then, as you'll see, we have these sort of one-off special events sometimes with the NFL in terms of their Super Bowl or draft schedule or things like that. But the general football schedule is, it aligns with American football season, just a little bit shorter.
Is there anywhere where people can watch or follow the games and the tournaments and even the All-Star game coming up on February 3rd?
Yeah, so we have been streaming several of our games on Movie United's TikTok channel. We'll see how that moves forward here in the U.S., but we're actually really looking to try to find a more permanent streaming partner. So stay tuned for details around that. But that's kind of where we're at the moment in terms of if people are looking to find us.
Karalyn, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, and best of luck not only this upcoming weekend, but as the sport continues to grow and expand throughout the U.S.
Thank you so much.
What a fantastic story, just the growth of a parasport. Only 5 years really in existence, and they already got over 1,000 participants, and you got teams across the country. This sport is skyrocketing to success, and it's in such a short period of time. It's so impressive, Nathan.
It's absolutely phenomenal, and already that groundwork and that very important groundwork, which we find with a lot of parasports, that often it takes time to partner with the professional leagues and partner with the top sports, and they've already done that. They already have a part of the American Wheelchair Football League. They are already representing their NFL counterparts, whether it's the Buffalo Bills, the Chicago Bears, the Arizona Cardinals. It is phenomenal to see that groundwork has been laid, and even to hear about how there's leagues starting in Great Britain and Japan. It's phenomenal. It's those early steps just blowing up, and hopefully more countries can jump on and take part in this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the key is getting that NFL partnership, getting that support, that sponsorship in place that allows you and your teams and your league to go to where these stadiums are, play the game as Karalyn was talking about, doing the All-Star game in front of the crowd as part of the lead up to the Super Bowl, being able to don the NFL jerseys, the NFL helmets, feel like you're still playing the game and having the NFL crest that you want on to represent your team. I think that is huge. That's something very rare because most of these other leagues and partnerships are kind of, one-off or sponsoring certain events, but you're not getting this blanket support like you are getting from the NFL when it comes to the wheelchair football league. So I think that is really unique, and it's showing huge success because you're getting 1,000 participants in playing the game. You've got teams all over the country. That is a true representation of what clear sponsorship and support from those major leagues can have on parasport.
Exactly, and especially when you take the veterans look at it too, giving people who mostly just recently suffered an injury or in the past have, and give them the opportunity to find sport, find community, or just parasport as a whole, just bringing that together. And as someone who's represented the Maple Leaf, it's a special feeling when you get to represent, whether it's your hometown team, whether it's putting on a Chiefs helmet, if you're a Chiefs fan, if you grew up supporting, watching the Chiefs throughout the years, or whatever team that you're on. It's a special honor and it's a special feeling when you get just to have that moment to look at that helmet, look at that jersey before you adorn it and get out on that field, no matter what that field of play is. It is something that is just, it's a feeling that elevates you to new heights and new levels. And just to have that opportunity where you have different tournaments throughout the year, you have the chance to be a part of Super Bowl weekend down in New Orleans and just really take that in and celebrate it. But it sounds like a lot like the NFL. The Kansas City Chiefs are dominating that sport too. So a lot is going on.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if there's a Philadelphia Eagles team set up. Maybe there's a opportunity to quickly put one together and have a Super Bowl matchup play out as well. But I think one thing that really stood out to me from what Karalyn mentioned was the fact that the game feels and looks very similar to what you would see on an NFL Sunday or a college Saturday with American football. And people can see the game being played. It's like, oh, you're just in a wheelchair for it. That's really the major difference. And I think that is huge for especially getting the awareness piece in place, getting the understanding, that knowledge transfer, because we see in a lot of other parasports, there's often multiple rule changes or tweaks that need to be made for the sake of, parity and to allow players to play throughout with a disability. This doesn't seem to be the case when it comes to wheelchair football, and I think that really works well in their favor to allow the game to grow and be understood and be enjoyed by the general public easier.
Exactly. And it's even one thing we deal with, and one thing I've definitely dealt with previous programs I've worked on and been a part of, is you have to explain the parasport. You have to explain the classification. You have to explain the rule set. And when you can have something where you don't need to translate much or separate much from how it's played on a Sunday, a Saturday, or even a Friday or throughout the week, it is huge for the growth, for that opportunity where viewers can come and they can understand the rules, they can take it away, and also with it too, it's fair for the players. And that's the important thing too, where these players are, it's not like they're having to overcome these massive rules despite whatever they have going on with them, but it allows them to easily transition, especially if they were a former player. That now, as you said, they're just in a wheelchair now, and they're able to grow, play, and take part in the sport that they grew up doing, or the sport that they just have been holding on dearly for so long in their life.
Oh, and I'm sure for yourself as a Seattle fan and myself as a Chicago fan, I would love the opportunity to go and play in front of, for me, it would be Soldier Field. For you, I can't remember what the Seattle Stadium is called right now, but being able to be in that environment as well, that just adds to the magic. It's great to be able to play the sport the way you want to be to play it and be able to play it, but to add that environment, to be down in New Orleans coming up and being able to play as part of that Super Bowl week, nothing can compare to that. The Super Bowl is its own thing. And to be able to be a small part of that in the lead up to it, that is just something that is unmatched pretty much, I think, probably by any other parasport too.
Now, there's nothing, there's very few things that can really compare to that atmosphere, just that spectacle, whether it's Lumen Field in Seattle or Soldier Field in Chicago. There is just that beauty of stepping out or getting onto that pitch, getting onto that field. And one thing that Karalyn really mentioned too is how you have NFL alumni, how you have different Pro Bowl athletes who've taken part in the sport, and they realize, okay, this is not as easy as I think it was going to be. And they get competitive. They get into it because all athletes want to perform. All athletes want to do well. And it just allows everyone to come together and see the beauty, see the nuances of the sport, of the game. And it really allows that connection to come, because that's one of the great things about parasport is where we talk about rules are pretty well the same depending on the sport, or they're completely different. It's another opportunity to learn. It's another opportunity to really see something they haven't seen before and embrace something that's new, that's different, that's innovating and adapting already something that has been in place for years, decades, or in the NFL's case, or football, American football's case, centuries, and just allowing that to really develop and have a new kind of viewpoint of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, from one upstart parasport to a slew of other competitions taking place abroad, Nathan, share the latest with the PSN update.
Now, the PSN update.
In the Egyptian capital, the first para badminton tournament of 2025 has gotten underway. Canada started the year strong with the team securing 6 podium finishes. The highlighted by Colleen Coletta earning a silver singles medal and 2 double podium finishes. In doubles action, Wyatt Lightfoot, Amelia Longier, and Justin Kendrick also claimed medals, with Longier and Kendrick earning multiple podium spots. Meanwhile, across the Mediterranean, Canada's para-snowboard team has traveled to Austria for the second bank slalom event of the season, as the World Championships loom just over a month away. World Cup action runs from January 31st to February 2nd, and that's the PSN update.
I always feel unsure of myself because we're trying to cover as many different parasports on this program and the coverage that we do, but I always feel like para badminton doesn't get the love that it deserves. And to see 6 podium finishes from the Canadians, that is huge, especially in a sport that is so competitive and so tight with countries all over the world. To see that impressive finish from Canadians is something that definitely needs to be celebrated.
Oh, it's something definitely needs to be celebrated. And the thing with the Canada's para badminton team is they're a younger team, they're a developing team, and for them to get these podium performances now, early on into their careers, and even some of the success they had down in Santiago back in 2023, this is just continuing steps and continuing movement as we're really at the start of that quadrennial. And it's really exciting to see what they've done now in Egypt, but also going forward as other competitions come their way in the coming months.
Yeah, well, and we will have all that coverage here on PSN, but we are out of time. So for Nathan, I'm Alex. Thanks for watching and listening. Catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Parasport Nation. Like and subscribe to the channel to follow us now.